guys, Double Wide 6, and today what I'm going to be doing is taking the engine. I got this John Deere L110, has a good engine in it, which is a Kohler Command 17.5 single cylinder. It has a bad battery, and it has a weak transmission, a ripped seat, has new front tires. So what I've decided to do is take the engine off this, kind of part out the rest of it and junk it, and we'll put that engine in a small Gravely. I think it's like a Gravely, like 1536, something like that. It's a zero turn homeowner, but it's a pretty good little tractor. It just has a blown engine, so that's the plan. People are always looking for these hoods because they're plastic and they break really easily. So I could probably get like 50 bucks for this. Alright guys, I just wanted to quick show you. I've added this little eye bolt here to help guarantee that this hook's not going to come unhooked. It used to have a real thin piece of metal, a little dinky spring that broke a long time ago, but this thing's been working good. So yeah, neat little trick there. These are just fuel line clamping pliers. These are fuel line loosening pliers. Well, guess what? It ripped. Alright. Battery is connected to the starter here, or actually it's from the solenoid, so we'll undo that. As far as wire connections, looks like these two plugs need to come undone. Well, the good thing is I'm going from a Kohler to a Kohler, so hopefully that wiring harness should be good to go. We'll find out. Alright, we got to undo the control linkage here, and I'm just going to mark where this was. And this cable all the way up like that is choke, that's run, and this is low RPM. So we're going to loosen up this deck support. There's a pin in here. And that pin doesn't want to come out. There we go. This pulley's a 5/8. I'm gonna wiggle this thing out. Alright, so it looks like the parking brake's on, and we gotta get that loosened up so I can take the belt off this top pulley up here. So actually I need to put the brake on. There we go. See if that loosened up at all. Yeah. Alright, so now that belt's loose. There we go. So there's 4 5/8" bolts up in here. So I'm just going to try and pop these out with my impact. Thing's about 90 pounds. So guys, here's the mower that we're planning on rescuing. It's a 1534 Mini ZT. It's a Gravely, and what I like about it is it's in decent shape. It has a fabricated deck. It has homeowner transmissions, you know, just hydro gear transmissions, nothing special. But, you know, it's good for a 1/2 acre, 3/4 acre property that you want to use a zero turn. And the issue with it is the engine has a broken connecting rod because the piston's not moving. And it's a Kohler Courage engine. No surprise. So I'm just going to take this thing off. I'm not going to rebuild it since I have that other engine at a pretty good price off that John Deere. We'll try and swap it out, and I think they're going to match up pretty nice. It should be a good fit, knock on wood. So this mower actually kind of has a sad story. The gentleman that owned it was 90 years old, and he had a lawn service, but he liked cutting his lawn. So the lawn service would come, and of course they would cut the lawn at 3.5 inches, but he wanted it cut at 3 inches. So they would cut it, and then he would go out with this thing and cut it again. And what happened was there was a blown connecting rod. So the guy brought it into a dealer, and he wanted to get a new mower. And what happened was his kids came in, and they said that they have power of attorney, and that whatever they do, don't sell them a new tractor. We already have a lawn service, and you know, I'm not sure if you know, they're kind of like waiting on the money, if he's not gonna live too much longer, or what the deal is. You know, I kind of look at it like the dude's 90. If he wants to mow his lawn, let him mow his lawn. But anyhow, they went in there. They wouldn't let him buy a new tractor. This was sitting there because the dealership brought it in there. He came over, he drove over, he said he hadn't driven in a while, but he found his way there. He got lost once, but found it. And he took the battery out because he put a new battery in it. So now it's missing a battery, and like I said, it needs a new engine. But yeah, that's the story on it. And they don't have the right key in here from the dealership, so I'm going to have to figure out how to get that. They put the connecting lug on this one on the bottom, which just makes it harder to get to. But I got it. So the starter's loose. Should be the same wiring harness. So that's loose. Now it looks like there's a ground wire on here. Yeah, they got a ground on there. So I'm going to have to get in there to get that. So we'll mark which hole this thing was on and where this clamp was. Just so we know. I mean, I know we're switching the engine. And then we're going to pull off the fuel line. Both engines have fuel pumps, so that's not going to be an issue. I guess Aaron's owns Gravely now. So they still make Gravely's, and they're good tractors, particularly their commercial tractors. They're well built. A lot of people say they're built like tanks. So, yeah, they still make them. And they make the Aaron Zooms, which are a lot like this, but this one has the fabricated deck. And this one doesn't have a choke, which is nice. So both engines, they have a choke. They don't have a... It doesn't have a separate cable for the choke and one for the throttle. They're built in together. Alright, so I'm still working on getting to the engine bolts, and these hydro gears are a little different than like the Cub Cadets. Cub Cadet has a rod going across here, where the Gravely's a little better built, has a 1/4-inch plate there. But this stuff's all in the way. So I took out these 2 bolts, and I also had a heat shield over here, which I removed. And then up in here are 2 holes where there were 2 more bolts. And that actually gets us access to this plate, which is still kind of stuck on here because of the PTO. So I'm going to have to remove these 2. And these 2 bolts here were missing, so good I'm looking at it. Alright, so I now have access to this PTO, so we'll try and pop this off. We'll keep that threaded in and just try and loosen that. So that's good. Alright, now I don't know if there's a idle or tension lever on this thing or not. I think we'll have enough room if we... I do see a tensioner, it's pretty big. So slip that off. We'll see if we can get the PTO and the belt to come loose after the PTO pops off. Except we need to unplug the PTO. Alright, I think I'm going to have to take some tension off this belt. I'll try and roll it around. Looks like I can do it. There we go. We'll just remember the plug was in the back. Alright, so they have a pulley up here that drives these hydros. And you can see they used anti-seize on here when they put this on. So that means that, yeah, you can see it is moving. Now there is a tensioner here. Which we're probably going to need to use. Alright, I got the belt loose off the pulley. Alright. So I checked the crankshaft on these things and they both match. I looked it up online before I started swapping these out. It said they would match. And this is the motor we're putting on. You can see the exhaust comes out the bottom, where on this one, once again, the Gravely has a pretty good system here. You got 1/4-inch plate that goes up and it bolts right on where the muffler bolts on, and they also have a regular muffler bracket. So I guess what we're going to do is move this muffler over there, and then we'll be able to use this bracket, but we're going to have to do something with this, perhaps a little welding or something to help support it. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of acetone ATF 50/50 mix. Great for loosening up stuff. And I'm just gonna try and move these bolts by hand, just because I could see all the rust. So I'm gonna move it down a little and then back. Now that moved pretty well. This one's good. I'll use a ratchet. Break it and then tighten it. That one's going to be good. Alright guys, bright and early the next day here, I took the bracket, hooked it up to the muffler, and then I made a little bracket here that I was going to weld, but you could see the muffler is sticking out a little bit, and I did some calculations, and if I use that setup, I'm going to have to back up this back rail about 2 inches. So I'd cut it and then extend that pipe. But rather than do that, I think I want to go back to the muffler and reconfigure it. I got a couple muffler pipes here. I got 3, I guess. And what I'd like to do is get more of a straight drop with the muffler and see how that'll work. So I'm taking a look at this muffler. This is basically the way I had it, and you can see the muffler kind of sticks out. I think the easiest thing to do, and sometimes when you're engineering, the simplest thing to do is an easy solution instead of something that's real complex. I'm going to actually cut this pipe here and then rotate it down, re-weld it, and that should pull the muffler in. So the first step is going to be to cut that. So I think I have it kind of figured out. So what I want to do is just kind of tack it, and then we'll weld it around. About 14 gauge. Little tip for you: you could take a flashlight and shine it through your weld and look to see if any light comes out. you would see it. It's best to do it in the dark. I'm trying to put it down here in this drawer, and everything looks good there. Alright guys, so I welded up that muffler, attached it, I put on this collar, and then it was a little loose, so I did add a second bracket, and it's very tight now. The bracket just goes from this bolt here, 90s, and then it attaches to the muffler. And then down here on the bottom, this was a little loose, so I just touched that up so it wouldn't vibrate. I'll show you that plate where it connects. I just took the existing muffler plate, I cut off the L because it went this way and L'd up, but I cut it off. I used the same bolt holes, and then I connected my bracket, which is right here, to it. So yeah, that's nice and tight. We don't have to worry about the muffler bottoming out like on a hill and breaking off. So I put this pulley on too. I cleaned up that shaft, and I put on some anti-seize. So I think we're about ready to set this on the mower and get moving forward. Well, the way I got that muffler done, I think I designed it so it should just drop right in here. So that way when you pull the engine, the muffler comes with it like it did when I pulled the broken engine. So we'll try and put this thing in here. Looks good. Now I gotta get to the mounting holes. I'm just worried about the oil dipstick down there. I may have to switch out the oil drain right here. So the length of the oil dipstick was in the way, so I took this off the old engine, and I'm using this aviation forma gasket. I mentioned this stuff before. It really works well. It's made for putting on gaskets, just a little bit extra seal. But it works great for pipes, particularly air connections. So I use it for hose fittings and things like that. So we'll switch this out. That'll allow us to move the engine to the right. It's got to go about a ½ inch. I got this bolt in the wrong hole. Alright guys, so I got the engine mounted, hooked up. There were 2 ground cables that were tied onto a bolt on the old engine. So I put one here on the carrying mount or lifting mount, and the other one wouldn't reach over here, so I put it on the starter bolt because they're both metal and grounded. So everything's good. I put the battery in there, and I have it raised up on the chain, but I can give it so all belts are hooked up. I didn't hook up the transmission plates and that, but I realized it's missing a battery holder. So I was looking in my scrap metal. I found this piece. I just cut this off, and I'm going to set that right here like this. And I'm going to weld some threaded rod that runs down to the floor. And we'll try and attach that like that. And that should secure the battery real well. Alright, I'm going to let those cool. Right there is why you want to have a welder if you're working on these things. So I was working on the back. I got everything back together, PTO. Everything went together really nicely. So we'll set the battery there. I didn't give myself much room. I don't want to bump that terminal. 9/16. Well, it's not going anywhere. Alright. Yeah, I think this thing's pretty much done. I noticed the blades are actually sharp. I was going to do an oil change, a little tune-up on this, but I want to make sure it runs. I'll show you guys the back quick before I put it down. So here's a look at the rear end of this thing. So I got this plate back on. That went on nice. It was missing these two bolts, so they're now in there. This plate up here is there. That's going to protect heat from the muffler, which is good. It makes everything really solid in the back. I got to tighten that, and there's another one I got to tighten that I forgot. The shield fit on. That protects the fuel line from any heat. So yeah, everything fits in there nice, and there's plenty of room for that muffler, and the muffler's not going to bottom out because of that plate. So let me just tighten those last two bolts. Good thing I checked this. Alright guys, at this point I've got at least 7 or 8 hours in this thing, believe it or not. Just picking up the mower, taking the old engine out of the other one, switching over to muffler, doing all the work on this thing. Yeah, that's about what it took. I'm still going to wash it, and I'm going to change the oil and oil filter, and I put a new battery in it because the battery was missing. So yeah, I do have some costs in this one for sure. But hopefully she starts and runs good, and there's nothing else the matter with it. So here we go. Hydros released. I want to make sure they're still released, because I don't know why it's driving with them released. Alright, one of them. Alright, now they're both in the drive position, I think. Alright guys, we got it all going. It's a pretty good little tractor. It's only a 34-inch cut, which is nice because you can get inside most gates, because most gates are 36-inch or 48. So I used to use them to get into backyards, and that's what's really nice about these small zero turns. And this will do, you know, you could do up to an acre with it probably, no problem, but probably like half acre, 3/4 of an acre, instead of using a tractor with all those turns. So I did want to make a shout out today. I've got a super fan. His name is Logan Traub. He's watching all my videos, and he was over here visiting me, and I hooked him up with one of these sweet new double wide 6 t-shirts. So I wanted to let you guys know I do have t-shirts. I haven't started selling them yet. I'm going to figure that out as we go, but I'm giving away a lot to a lot of friends and families around here that we hang out with. So guys, always, thanks for watching, and let me know down in the comments what you thought of the video. Take care.